Still getting used to making things for YouTube, and this is actually my very first video. Seeing as I'm at 0 subscribers so far, thought I'd do something really basic. I actually just wanted to go through some of the tools that I use and probably what I'd recommend for people starting out. You really only need some basic things. There's literally billions.
It was 1,000,000,001
brands out there that are willing to tell you really good information, maybe show a little bit of the peripherals of things outside of what I do as well. If I'm really being honest, you only need very little to start out to try a few things, and it really comes down to what you're wanting to try as well. Right, so let's go. First thing that I use absolutely the most is just your simple arts and crafts little scalpel. You can buy these things for a couple of bucks from Bunnings, whatever. You get a bunch of refills on the blades. They stay nice and sharp and cut things really quick. You can buy these sorts of things as well. To be honest, I'm not a fan. You have to sharpen it constantly, and the blade being one-sided just doesn't cut perfectly. Don't buy one of these. Next, probably use this thing the longest out of all the tools I've ever had. It's called an awl, and it's got multiple purposes, but basically it's just a little short, sharp edge on it. Great for opening holes that you've punched. It's great for marking leather, all that sort of thing. Sooner or later, you're going to need a good solid punch.
Nice left, thanks.
Not that kind of punch. The ones I use are these little ones. They actually do a really good solid job. You can get them in a bunch of different sizes, but if you're putting rivets through or making any sort of holes, making belts, these are perfect. If you want to put some thread through one of your projects, you'll need one of these. It's called stitching chisel. Little 4-prong thing, so it keeps them all perfectly even between each of your stitches. I use a 4 for the majority of things. That's probably all you need to start with, but you can also buy little 2 ones, gets through if you need it. What do you need if you're making holes for stitching? Bit of thread. That's probably your most common size. I think that's about 1 mil. I find this great for really like projects that you want to be really strong, like sheets, pouches, and any sort of stuff like that. You can also buy smaller thread, which makes a world of difference. A good idea if you're stitching stuff as well is actually buy yourself some Leathercraft Glue. I don't always use this, but it is sometimes good to just actually stick it down before you stitch it. That's just some basics to get you started. There's a couple extra things that aren't necessarily leatherwork items that you can buy. It's good to have a handy little pencil, decent ruler, always helps, especially hard straight edge. And obviously if you're using punches, chisels, all that sort of thing, have a good hammer as well. You don't need to buy one of these, you can buy something from Bunnings as well. I actually use these things a lot of time, which are called awls.
What an idiot.
They're really useful because of just how weighted they are, but you really don't need one to start with. Like, this is something that gets in a little bit more advanced. Once you've had a couple of cracks at a few things, you might want to start making the edges very nice on your project. This is just a basic little thing called an edge beveller, and you'll see there it's got like a nice tiny little smooth edge there for you to cut away the corners of your leather. And once you've used that as well, you can actually use what's called an edge slicker, and it actually smooths it out as well. Remember, anytime you're doing that, you want to use a little bit of water. Basically, make sure your leather's wet. When it comes to doing your stitching lines along the edge of your projects, this little thing called a edge groover allows you to set the amount of distance that away from the project you want your stitching to be. Set that up, and then you just run that along the edge of your leather, and it'll give you a perfectly straight line every single time. Done. English point punch. If you're doing any belts, straps, anything like that, you don't want your the ends of them looking like dog. These come in a variety of different sizes, but works the same as any other punch. Basically, it gives you a nice little clean edge there. This is the last little thing that I'm going to throw in here as a recommendation. You definitely don't need one of these to start out, but you might be looking to do some little tiny snap closures on your projects, and you can do this pretty cheaply. Obviously you have to buy the snaps. They come in 4 parts. But the most important thing is this little tool, and that's actually got the rounded edge on there for you to like punch open the pipe ends on these and actually close it properly. Now the other thing I'm actually going to show you to get as well is a pair of these. So the little brass cups that actually sit in the base of the things that you're punching. For instance, this will actually sit in there. For it to sit on there, just line her up. Done. That's it for that one. Look, it's pretty short and sweet, but if you found it interesting, if you found it helpful, whatever, give us a little like down there. That's fine. Or don't. I don't mind. Look, the plan is to do a lot more videos of things that surround the leather work that I do. Basically, just going to try and show some cool shit on this channel. So we'll just see where it leads. Cheers. One last thing I wanted to mention is my Instagram is where I showcase most of my work. So if you want to go check that out, it's at 66leatherwork on Instagram. Cheers.
They know